Hi, welcome to JadeKind Gaming. I'm Adam. Today I'm going to be painting one of my Bones miniatures. It's actually the first one that I've gotten around to painting, but I'm all caught up in the excitement because currently Bones is running their second Kickstarter. So the first thing I want to say is go back it while it's still running. It's October. It's running through like near the end, but not quite the end of October. So go back that. Because the more people back it, the more money goes to it, the more free stuff I get. And you too. We get. See? Spend little bits of money and they pile on more stuff. Stretch goals. So go back the Bones 2 Kickstarter. I'm going to be doing, if you look here, I went through all the Bones and I decided on this guy. He's there's 5 of them here, and I'm gonna go with this one in the front here, because he looks simple. He doesn't have a face. He has that little mask on. He's a guy in armor. That's where I am, and he's part of a set. So there's 4 others that I can get to at a later point. Anyways. But before I actually get to painting him, I'm going to go through paints, and it's been a while since I've really painted any miniatures. So I got essentially my box of stuff from last time I did it. I was like, I could go through it, but why not just go through some of the tools I use with you guys. So first off, I have brushes. A bunch of small brushes in there, some different points, some small brushes on this side here, and then various sizes in that. I'll probably mostly be using those, although I might use some others. I have water, which I store with it in bottles because it's easy for me. I have a palette, and you'll see why. Because instead of using, buying all the miniatures, paints, and everything, I buy just normal acrylic paints. I am not an expert at painting miniatures by any means. I am fairly decent at painting. I went to school. I have my associates in fine art. And despite the low quality of these videos often, I have my bachelor's in film. But yeah, so I'm familiar with painting. I have, and I already had, that's one of the big reasons. I already had a whole bunch of just tubes of acrylic paint, so I mixed my own paints. Which means that, for example, on this guy, if I was going to want to paint them all identical, I'd have to do them all at once. Otherwise, you're not going to mix exactly the same color, but that doesn't bother me. Let's see, and I also have, like, I have a silver metallic paint. I might have, I think I have like a blue metallic paint. I have some other art paints, but I do have some of the metallic ones because you're not going to get that metallic shine without the particles of metal being in the paint. Let's see, yes, I have decals from 40K. And that's also, I have this bag of mixed grains, size grains of sand, and this bag of seashells, because though they're put away, when I was doing my Chaos Space Marine Army, I decided that they were going to be storming across a beach. And I did like 2 or 3 guys like that, and I haven't gotten around to them again. And that's why it's been a while since I've painted. Let's see. Let me look at him. Another good thing about him is, though there are some mold lines, for the most part, I'm thinking that they're gonna blend in with the armor. Let's see. You can kind of see that line. But theoretically, I can just I'm going to try and keep my head and everything out of the way of the camera when doing this. Anyways, I don't really care. I got a little bit of it. It's armor, and I have a tendency not to mind lines nearly all that much in armor. I just had a cap for the X-Acto knife, and I feel like not just setting the X-Acto knife down without the cap. There it is. I don't want to cut myself next time. That'd be funny. Start the video, I'm painting again. Ah! That would not be funny. I changed my mind. I would be very hurt. Let's see. Okay. And one of the things that, while I've not painted any of the bones, I have done some reading regarding them. Other people's suggestions for how to paint them, for the different things about them. Because the thing about the bonesium or whatever the material is called is that, for one, you don't have to prime it. However, one of the things I've read is if you put your first coat on, it needs to not be watered down. So if you wanted to be like painting against white, then you'd have to essentially paint them white. But you don't have to use like a spray primer or anything. You can just go on with acrylic. They did suggest to wash it with some dish detergent, so I have a little thing of dish detergent. I have a paper towels. See, my palette's a little bit dusty, I think. I don't know if it's dust or just old and bits of paint, but I don't want bits of dust in the miniature. Right here. A little bit of dish detergent. Drop of that in there. Bit of water. Toothbrush. And you're supposed to wash them first because, though they don't need to be primed, they do say that the paint peels off if you don't wash them first. So I'm just going to trust that that's the case, and I'm going to do it. I think someone said dish detergent. Take more water. Water cup. Rinse them off. And dry. Clean bones now. So essentially the first layer, since I can't it should be like a priming kind of layer. So I'm thinking I'll do some dark colors. Oh. Let's see, let me get them dry. One of the things I did want to point out, I don't know if I pointed out in the unboxing, is that these bones figures bend and then they go back. They bend. So they're really pliable compared to pretty much any other miniature I know about there. Yeah, let's grab this brush. Which for one means that I guess I can move it around, but it also means it's easy to cut through, it's easy to... it's pliable, I don't know. It's good and bad. Let's see. I'm going to start with some dark. Get a little bit of this purple. That's way, way more purple than I needed. It was all like glob. A little bit of black. brush to it. So anyways. And that's about what I needed. Yeah, I'll do that. Essentially what I'm going to do first is I'm going to paint this guy purple because I'm going to make him blue, and that way I'll end up with all the dark areas filled in as needed, at least with something darker than blue. And we'll see how well I do at keeping him on camera. And in the focus range. Yes, by no means am I professional. I've only done a few miniatures, really. There we go, see? I was like, feel free to go in comments and make fun of me or compliment me, you know, if you wanted. I may or may not cut this up or time-lapse this. I don't know. Depends how often I have something insightful to say. Because right now, I'm not having much insightful to say. But I guess this is my first time painting on this material. Really, it's my first time painting on anything without putting a primer of black on it first. So I'm essentially, I mean, I can just tell right away I might even need a second coat of this. Just because, you know, you can see that it's not too dark. It's a bit light through there, and you can just tell that. I'm just, I mean, really, that's just putting on what will be this basic undercoat. If all the dark crevices appear to be filled in when it dries, then I may just leave it. And it is acrylic paint, so it does slightly change color when it dries a bit, which for me being color deficient is not fun. I have enough trouble with color. It does seem to hold up fairly well, at least with one coat. It's still holding the detail, which is one of the things people were saying, is that no, not to worry about that. And you notice I'm leaving the gun, I'm leaving the base. Those are what that black's for. And I'm not sure how well the camera is going to pick up the detail on this little guy. It's a nice camera. Oh no, I got it on me. But it really depends on where it falls in focus. And my monitor for my camera is not as high resolution as what the camera is, so usually it's not until after I've filmed and am editing a video that I get to know how in focus I was. Which usually isn't a huge deal. A lot of my unboxings or discussions or anything like that. Just basic reviews. But it can have a bit of an impact here when I'm already, struggling because I have to look down at the guy instead of at the monitor itself. I'm going to dry my brush a bit, get some of that excess off, and go to the black. And put the undercoat for the gun, because I think the gun's going to be probably a metal, like the steel metal thing. And the base is the same. And I don't really care if they mix too much here, because they're all just supposed to make it dark. So right now I'm painting the two different darks. But I do care not to have any white, because the white is the Bonesium and the white is... really the goal is to cover the white right now. And I do always make sure, and I mean, like when I did 40K, I'd always like pick a color and I'd paint the sides. So I'm gonna make sure to at least get these black. Oh, I'm just going to hold wet paint, big deal. I need to add another white before I come back after this dries. Because I can do this in the shadow and all, but you probably can't see it. And I barely can. Oh, you're completely off camera. Alright. With a purple-black mix, I guess, on his helmet, because I wanted to touch some of that up, and I didn't feel like washing the brush completely. Alright. Now he's, instead of being a little white figure, he's a little black and purplish figure. Let's cover up where my fingers were. Alright. So I'm going to let him dry. And then I'll be back. And I'll replace this soapy water with non-soapy water, because that way I can do sort of washes. I'll be back. Alright, so it's been a couple hours maybe. After about 45 minutes I came back and I checked on him and he was still a bit tacky, and so I was like, oh no, because I've heard there's some issues with some of the spray paint, so if you prime it with that it would stay tacky. But it's not tacky at all anymore. I then came back probably a half hour ago, and he wasn't then either. But I looked him over and I put just a little bit of the purple in some of the crevices where I looked around, and I was like, ah, there's still white there. So that may still be a bit, but you know, it's dry. It's enough that I'm not getting paint on me. So I've waited long enough. I'm going to put the next layer on. Alright. And what I'm going to do here is, I think, yeah, I'm going to go with this nice light blue. I came back and I introduced everything, and I talked about that it took maybe 2 hours for it not to just dry, but to become not at all tacky anymore even. And then I went on to what I was going to do next. And what I was going to do next is I was going to paint it. I mixed some of this light blue with some white, and I ended up doing a dry brush. And I was all careful, and I did a fairly good job of making sure it was in camera. And then I went back and noticed I didn't press record on the camera. Anyways, so the dry brush technique, and I'll do, I guess, a little bit more. I'll find here's like a dark area still. Essentially, you know, I have like the mixed paint here. And I just, you know, got whatever on there. And then I go here and I try and get whatever I can off. So get plenty of paint on, and then get as much paint off as I can. Then go to a dark area and just sort of, oh, that's not enough paint off. Like really dry. And go over it, and it'll pick up really what is ultimately all the detail that the miniature already has. You can't always do this in a lot of miniatures. But because this guy is in armor, and therefore it's not necessarily having to be the most, you know, hyper-realistic kind of whatever miniature, it works out really well. So anyways, now I got it recording, and I'm going to move on. That's not really dry. Actually, I'll be right back. I'm going to add another light. Alright, back again, this time with light. Now you can see what this guy actually kind of looks like. There we go. I should have done that in the first place. See, that's with the dry brush. I'm going to go with his base. For the base, I'm going to make this, I guess, a little gray. And for that, let's see, I guess it needs a clean white. Tiniest bit of this black from earlier, if it's it's not easy because it's mostly dry, so by the time I get any, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be a lot. Alright, not that much. Okay, that should work. Alright. So ultimately I just wanna, it's a little dry. See what kind of texture is in the base. A bit more there. Make sure it's dry. And because of the texture that's in these minis, I can really quickly get this base painted. Come around from different angles, get some highlights on the edges, and leave some of the little crevices. Now I suppose if I wanted, while it's still like that, I could then come back with some more black. Because I didn't make a really dark gray. Get that really dry. Come in again. The really light touch. Then again, just get some black itself. Do that. I got kind of a cool looking base. You can see the texture that's just built into the Mini. And now, of course, the thing that's completely missing is the gun. And that'll be this. Metallic. Alright, this one is probably not cheap. Probably, with a metallic paint, you definitely want to shake it first. Really, you might want to shake all of them, but I don't usually. But metallic paint can have essentially particles of metal in it. That's how it's metallic. Let's just shake it. Let's see if I can get away with just using this little thing in the dot up at the top. Dry some of it off. Come in. It's not nearly dry enough. Coming in to get some of that. Let's see. Yeah, it's cooked pretty well. Because the metallic is pretty fluid, so you really have to be careful with how wet or dry it is. But it's also shiny. So a little bit goes a long way. One thing I just noticed doing that is this hand that comes around with its armor I missed. So I'm going to come back to some of this blue. Try it. So, this is as far as a basic miniature. That's fair enough. I'm gonna go, and then I'll be back soon. Gonna let them dry a little bit, and I'm gonna see if there's a few things like details I might pull out with some yellows or that kind of thing. So I'll be back, and I will record it next time all the way. Be right back. Hey, it's been maybe a half hour, and it's been dry for a bit. I also went and I made a little list looking over it. Some decisions of things I want to just to bring out some color to make some little modifications to it. Alright, so let's check it out. Whatever. Let's see, let's find... Oh yeah. Yeah, it was this one. Clean my brush. Okay. I'm gonna start. I want a little white at the visor. This guy's got his little visor here. And that is really just the most delicate of just getting the top couple hairs with some paint on it and coming over and painting. And this is really the first thing I've done on this guy that I've actually had to be careful with the dry brushing technique, because the dark that I put on first was all was sort of a coverall, and I did a dry brush. The dry brush is sort of a just make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush and go wild. This is the first thing where I have to like I guess stay inside the lines, as it were. Alright, and I got a bit of that. I'm gonna let the white dry a bit. I'll come back to it. Let's see. Meanwhile, let's see what else I want to do. Oh yeah. Gonna get some red. I know. And I wanted a darker blue. And I want a little black. I'm gonna lay out some paints for myself. Dark blue. Red. Yellow. Whatever, that yellow's for like almost a dot. The red is for like 3 dots. I wanted black. That's not black. That's, yes, Mars black. Alright, let's see. Let's get some of that stuff on. I'll start with the black. Black, I wanted, I think, just a little bit around like the heel of the boots or something. And ultimately the goal of this is to separate him from the base. I wonder if I can do it just sitting here. Not as well. Alright, I got a little bit on the base itself I didn't really want. So I'm going to go back to some of this lighter stuff. Just slightly touch up around the base itself, so it's just his boots that kind of get that little whiter or that blacker look. So I'm using a dry brush again to clean up around the base. I think that does an alright job of separating his boots from the base. Let's go back and add another layer of white now. That visor of his. Okay. Oh yeah. Let's see. I want to make the backpack. Get some of that darker blue. Probably dry brush it. I just like part of his armor I felt like should stand out, be different. That was not very dry. Let me do it evenly then. Dry water off the brush. Some of the blue. Blue just seems a bit liquidy compared to some of the other paint. So I'll dab it. So ultimately, I'm just trying to get the backpack to stand out as being a separate piece of armor. Maybe even some white over that. I don't know. I got this metallic, what is it called? Metallic blue sapphire that I've not even opened ever. So if I can get it open, I'll use a bit of that on the backpack. That'll make it stand out as being different. Pencil. I know. That X-Acto knife from earlier. Come on. There. Again, metallic, so alright, that was not needed. Well, I'll just use that on the side that I just spilled out. Whoops. Oh well. I'll let that dry a little bit before I continue to work on it, but clean up this little bit that I spilled on the side of the paint bottle. And wash my brush. And at that point, my camera apparently got to wherever its recording limit and just stopped. So I got another memory stick in it, because I'd carried on to completion. I'll talk about what I did. Look here. I'm not sure what I'd done, at that point before, but I put another, layer of white on the visor. After the backpack, I let the backpack dry, and then later on I put a little bit of a different dry brush over it, so the backpack stands out as different and has a bit of layers too. He's still got his the majority of his armor's that brushed light blue, the brushed floor that could be like concrete or metal. He's got his gun. He has his white visor, and it has that little yellow thing at the side I did, like where the mold line was. I turned to the left of that as like a different part of the visor and made that yellow. Little red dots on his shoulder pad. Just some little details. But ultimately, he's a little guy in armor, so he's a pretty easy one to paint. The Bones material accepted paint well. I don't know, I'm pretty pleased. So anyways, check out and join the Bones 2 Kickstarter and get, miniatures of your own to paint. It's going through at some point. Hold on, actually I can just... the funding period ends October 26th, it looks like. So, on my end, October 26th. So jump in and fund before that time comes. I'll probably do at least, hopefully I'll because I think I have at least one more week before then. I'll get at least one more video up, some other painting or something else with the Bones to promote it, because Reaper's a pretty good company. I'm pretty happy. I'll see if I can find this particular model available, and I'll link to that where you can buy it online. Or nowadays, the Bones from the first Bones line tend to be available at your local game shop, so you can check it out there too. Anyways, have a great day. Bye.